Chat Sports. Hello, everyone, and good morning. This topic is one that's going to be very, very interesting and will fancy the interest and pique the attention of a lot of boxing fans this morning. A Friday, which most of you are preparing to get off work early around 11:30 or 12, get some food in your bellies, and then head home and get ready for an astounding fight week. This interview was with IFLTV, and the recipient of that interview was called FROCH. If you don't know who this pugilist is, from Nottingham, England, he was a multiple world champion, super middleweight division, all right? And he had a total of 35 bouts, 33 wins, and only 2 losses. Now, he was in the presence of IFLTV, and he was asked several questions, one dealing with Dillian Whyte and Joseph Parker. I'm not going to touch too much on them today. But the revelation is, when the question was anchored on the surface, and the talking point was, what do you think about the Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua? When it came down to Carl Froch, who is known to be outspoken, brash, raw, you know, and not a likable guy when he was laced up and he was an active fighter. He told it the way it is. I really want you all to tune in and understand and listen, because when it's a lot of, just say it's over here in the U.S. and it's the media journalists that's out here in the trenches that's getting this work. You know, people want to blame us for trying to be ex parte, you know, a lot of the times, because it's a jungle out here in the media scrum, you know, period. You know, everyone wants to find some way to discredit where you receive the media, unless you hear it coming from that particular individual's mouth, then it's somewhat is perceived as credulity based off little factual evidence. And this is coming from Carl Froch himself. So tune in and listen in and tell me what you think. Like we already know over here in the U.S. that this was the reason anyway. We've been saying this all along. Several entities that speak on this all the time. I can give you an entire list of media outlets who have mentioned what we already know about Eddie Hearns being the sole proprietor and keeping this bout from happening, from restricting these 2 individuals who are considered the top heavyweight fighters in their division, to sign them on to have a super fight to unify all the belts. We've been saying this for a long time, and now you hear it from Carl Froch himself. Tune in. Tell me what you think.
What have you made of this whole Joshua Wilder situation? We now know Joshua's obviously going to fight Povetkin on the 22nd of September. What have you made of that whole saga that sort of dragged on for a long time?
Joshua Povetkin?
No, about the Wilder situation with Joshua.
I don't know, it's a bit annoying, it's frustrating. I'd like the fight to happen, but I think it builds on it. If they leave it till next year, it builds a little bit more. But there's not been a drug issue, have there, with Wilder, Joshua Wilder? I thought you mentioned drugs then.
No.
Oh, right, okay.
I said it's dragged on.
Oh, dragged on. Sorry, I've got Povetkin in my head because he obviously had an issue with drugs.
Yeah.
More
but whose
once.
fault is it that the fight isn't happening now?
Eddie Hearns. It's always Eddie Hearns' fault.
You reckon?
Yeah, definitely.
No, seriously.
No, seriously, it's Eddie's fault.
Okay.
Like 100%.
Why do you think that?
Because he's a very good promoter. And he'll like that little G up there.
Yeah, because the title of the video is to be Eddie Hearns to blame for the fight not happening.
Yeah, listen, he won't take any blame for it, but he knows what he's doing. And this fight builds. You know, the longer this fight goes on, the bigger it becomes.
Are you saying this is strategically done for the fight to specifically happen?
There's always a few little things that can happen that get in the way, and you can then say, right, that's it now, we can't do it. I think the money was there, wasn't it? The 50 mil was there. And everyone's saying the money was there, what's the problem? But Eddie Hearns got his plan, his long-term plan for AJ, and in the short term, Povetkin's probably a good call. See what happens with White, and then, you know, see who else is slipped in as a mandatory. You know the game. And then eventually, he'll fight Deontay Wilder, the guy that's dangerous, the guy that could beat him.
Are you kind of suggesting that there wasn't really any intention from...
Get myself into right.
No, I'm asking. There was no intention of that fight happening this September.
This is all my own opinion, by the way.
By the way, you're entitled to your own opinion.
Exactly. I don't know. I think if everything would have stacked up right and Joshua fancied it and Robert McCracken fancied it, the fight would have happened. But between Eddie, Josh and Rob, the fight's not happened for whatever reason. And I don't think it's a problem that the fight's not happening now, because it will be bigger and better when it happens. And I think AJ wins, by the way. Don't get me wrong. Deontay Wilder could beat AJ if he catches him and hurts him and goes for the finish. But for me, AJ's going to get more experience now. He's going to become an even better fighter than what he is. And it's going to be more and more difficult the longer this lasts for Deontay Wilder to beat AJ. So it's all stacked in AJ's favour.
Listen, fight fans, you heard it just like I did. And I hope all of you digested it as well. And, you know, it comes down to hearing it someone close in the community over there. You know, he's a former champion, multiple world champion from Nottingham, England. And to hear him mention that is what we've been saying over here in the U.S. media for quite some time now. Of course, you're going to have these representatives who are embedded in their occupational, resources, and they want to hold strong to keeping their job. But listen to me. It comes to a point where you got to hold true to your own integrity, your dignity, your character. You know what I'm saying? You have to ask some of these tough questions and definitely reach out to these individuals who are being disruptive when it comes to the media and pointing fingers in this particular situation with Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. You have to hold them accountable. And this is one of those moments where you're looking at a former champion who has basically taken his experience in boxing analytics over to be a commentator in the sport of boxing. And he gave it to you point blank. He kept it straight to the point. So when you hear the IFLTV, kind of retread and question, you saw the difference, the change in tone when he said that. He said, "Are you serious?" He just wanted to make sure that what he was hearing, FROCH wasn't playing around, and FROCH made it clear he was serious. You know what I'm saying? It didn't seem like he was doing it in a malign, deleterious type of action. He was just there making his point that he believed Eddie Hearn was the proprietor of holding up this fight. You have to call it for what it is, and FROCH made it a point to keep it all the way a buck and said that, yeah, being Eddie Hearns is a shrewd businessman, promoter. He wanted to basically delay to, I guess, garner enough attention, which it already has, to make the most money possible. And if that is the case, then why would he say he's not going to negotiate the $15 million anymore? It's a done deal. And we're talking about 9 months out to April 2019. It doesn't make any sense. If you're actually on board with trying to make this fight happen and come to fruition, then you would do a bit more behind closed doors. You wouldn't go out here and excoriate Deontay Wilder each and every time that you have a breath in your body to do so, and the lenses that's in front of you is so many that everyone is going to have their bits and pieces and snippets of media to edit and then disperse out to the fans any way they see fit. And a lot of that media sometimes wavers heavy to that of Eddie Hearns. So there you go. Also, I want to touch base on another snippet that was extracted from this interview. Okay, I want you to take a peek, listen in, be attentive, and give me your feedback there, boxing fans, fight fans. Thanks for tuning in. Now listen to this snippet and what he said. Once Eddie Hearn somehow, some way gravitated, we're not sure how he, found out, but Eddie Hearns is never shy to be in front of a camera where he's able to speak his mind. There's some type of magnetic attraction that draws him in. And at this point in time, FROCH was still sustaining his interview when all of a sudden Eddie Hearns appeared. Now, check out how IFLTV was so in a haste to hold FROCH accountable for his words, but no one wants to hold Eddie Hearns accountable for his words. That's where the contradiction and the hypocrisy come in at. When you look at the IFLTV, they had a sense of urgency to hold FROCH on the carpet to answer these questions while Eddie Hearn had just intervened. Listen in.
Can I just say something?
Rematch.
He says 2 seconds.
Oh, wait, mate.
What does he say?
Yeah, we're going now. We're going now.
What does he say?
He said, can I say what you said, or should we
I
wait
can't remember
for him
what I
to
said.
say it?
Was it bad or
He
good?
said that you're to blame for Wilder Joshua not happening this year.
Fucking cheeky
Yeah, what else did I
bastard.
say at the beginning of the interview?
Right, what did you say?
About him being one of the best promoter, or the best
He
promoter.
said it's the number
I'm
one
not to
promoter
blame.
in this
I'm
one
definitely
today.
not to blame. They didn't come back to us on a contract, but I won't take offence to that comment.
Yeah, you can answer it now, though. You can answer it now.
Okay,
What
cool.
I said was, the fact that Joshua may or may not be ready. Robert McCracken's got an opinion on what he wants his boy to do, because ultimately he's his trainer. What he says really has to have an effect. And as a promoter, you've got a job to do
but-
to maximise everything.
Yes, but I will say that everybody was prepared to take the fight for the deal that we agreed with Wilder.
Yeah.
For the deal that we offered Wilder, that he accepted,
Yeah.
we were all prepared to take the fight. So I will agree with you that McCracken, as you know Rob McCracken very well, he's never in a rush to fight those kind of fights. Joshua's, you know Joshua, ready
It's
to
his
fight
job,
him now.
not only as a trainer, it's his job to protect his fighter as well.
But Rob, when you boxed Yusuf Mack,
Yeah.
Rob was going to me, I don't like this fight, or this is a tough fight. You smashed him to bits.
Yeah.
So with Joshua, he wants to fight anyone. He's ready to fight now. But we were prepared to take the fight if the terms were what we wanted, and we got that exactly right.
Yeah.
But they never come back to us on the contract.
So there you go, they never came back. So
But a lot of what you say is correct. So fuck you.
see you in a bit, mate.
And not
So just like I did, fight fans, you heard Eddie Hearn say what he had to say, and he pretty much in a facetious manner told Carl Froch that a lot of what you say is correct. Okay? Not the fact that he was genuinely validating what Carl Froch had mentioned, because he wasn't there the entire time, but he did make mention in a joking, jovial type manner that Carl Froch was pretty much saying the truth. Now, you heard it just like I did. You know, when it comes time in a situation like this, Eddie Hearn will use the connection point. You got to listen to his language. And now is all. Now he wants to consolidate him and Deontay Wilder in an all blown up effort in agreeing to the terms, which we all know that those terms was never absolutely totally agreed to. But now it's an all. When he arrived in the U.S., he attempted to pull the bait and switch, was saying that in the process of promoting the Povetkin fight, Anthony Joshua and Alexander Povetkin, he was going to have Joshua sign a contract. Well, those terms that's internal to that contract was never agreed upon wholeheartedly. We on the outside looking in through the window pane, we truly don't know the fine details. So once again, Hearns can jump on the media in front of the lens, which he's so very comfortable with, and make any type of accusation that he chooses to. And this is what I'm here for. I'm just trying to help you, the fight fans, understand that if you choose to extract just tidbits, and then they're very ex parte edited versions that you're going to highlight out here in the community, the social media wave, then expect other people to hold you accountable in your contradiction. And, you know, Eddie Hearns just sat there and listened to IFLTV explain wholeheartedly in front of Carl Froch about that particular statement Froch made earlier in the interview. It goes without saying. He didn't adamantly deny it. He basically made a point in so many words that kind of say, you know, this is the deal. You know what I'm saying? As he always do. This is the deal. All of us agreed to it. You know, and then he, you know, Froch want to speak of McCracken, who's the manager and trainer of Anthony Joshua. So it's a lot of people that are contributing to the extraction process. You know what I'm saying? They're there for the disbursement. That being the monetary value that's attached to Anthony Joshua. And believe me, every time you hear Anthony Joshua inking his name to any type of deal, he has a huge amount of people that he has to contribute those funds to. Period. Just early this AM, you heard that Anthony Joshua signed a multi-fight deal with Matchroom. As you heard earlier, that he signed a 2-fight deal with Wembley. yeah, he's signing, he's making moves, so to speak, over there. But also, we're not privy and aware to the numbers and how they all correlate to what he's grossing and taking home to feed himself and his family. We don't know that. So what I would suggest to the Anthony Joshua fans, right, when you're retreading, recycling all of this residue that's on the media surface, be sure to clean it up a little bit. Be sure to stop being extremely biased in your narratives and expecting people to believe it like it came from the Decalogue, a pugilist pantheon, because he is nowhere being anointed to that status. He hasn't fought Hall of Fame opposition. Carlos Takam isn't. Joseph Parker isn't. Dominic Brazil, no. Dillian White, no. Charles Martin, no. I mean, the list goes on. I don't have to keep on, providing you all with the entire ledger and the opposition that's associated with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt that you follow the sport as I do. What I'm doing isn't an anomaly, but the great aspect of being out here as a combat sports journalist, right, is that we're all going to have all sources of opinions. They're either going to weigh heavy on the left or the right of the scales of perception. That's what we do. Take it however you feel. That is what it is. The media scrum is always going to have some type of controversy to it. And it's all about how you filter through all of it and you catalog what you choose to, and then you discard in a recycle bin as you see fit. That's the way it should be. Nothing, complex about it. You just have to be open-minded enough to understand that if you choose to go out here and place your own excerpts out here as if you choose to be that person, then expect there's going to be a counter offer. There's going to be individuals like myself that do the research and will have no problem having a dialogue to ask you to kind of explain, And a lot of people out here, they're incapable of responding to a factual retort. They get so disgruntled, ill-tempered. You know what I'm saying? And all you're doing is covering the sport. That's it. Nothing too serious. Everyone's opinion is going to be just that. It's always a common denominator. And that is what you choose to believe. And right now, Anthony Joshua and Eddie Hearns and all the other fractions that is associated with the career of Anthony Joshua, they all need to come to a meeting of the minds. Okay, because we know over there are certain people that are not privy to the company of what goes on, the table talks. Okay, it just doesn't happen like that. It's pretty much itemized and sectioned off, segregated in his own way. So I doubt the primary players to make this happen and to speak some sense into Anthony Joshua isn't there. A lot of this is did over the phone, email, and everything. A lot of these people, they're not sitting in the same room as Eddie Hearn. You know what I'm saying? It's just not that type of environment. And you all need to understand that also. When you're out here trying to speak of money and what Deontay Wilder didn't do. Well, I always look at it like this. If we're having a dialogue and you're telling me everything Deontay Wilder hasn't done, then tell me what Anthony Joshua has done. Because when you meet that typical conclusion, you will have people saying, well, he sold out Wembley. No, he was in there with a legend. I already mentioned it earlier. Well, and that's what you get. You get a distorted, confused, bewildered type of response. And if you're talking to them via social media, they have access to media source drops. And they have access to a plethora of, search engines that they keep fueling up every day. Search engines just keep on churning. The cylinders is nonstop because you have people doing source drops and they are copy and paste. No, we're talking about factual recall knowledge that you did research on. That's all I'm saying. That you've actually taken the time to catalog, and it's factual. And the source drops that you're doing is from the individuals themselves, like Eddie Hearns, just like FROCH today. That's what I'm trying to get across to you. There's a type of discipline that is respected a bit more. And then also you're going to have the individuals that just give you their opinion because that's who they favor. And so be it. But I just keep hearing a common narrative of people being disingenuous with ulterior motives. When you sit up here and you retread on the same media content from single sources that you know that weigh heavily on the side of the UK fighters, or weigh heavy on the side of the US media, you're always going to have that person out there that questions where you source. And if you like me, I kind of can understand sometimes by reading where someone had actually cut and paste and where the article was actually sourced from. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not that difficult. Articles come out every second of the day. There's a plethora, a surplus of information that you can retrieve for your own archival references, but you choose not to do so. Okay? So when you're out here trying to provide edification, to your narratives, make sure you do your due diligence and make it happen. And it's respectful, and people can nod their head and say, you did your homework. Enlighten us. You understand? That's all I'm saying. If you choose to espouse some type of direction where you just want to digest one side of the media content and you really don't want to identify what Deontay Wilder has did, and saying he want to see one face, one name, one champion, and he's out here representing what a champion's supposed to do, then you obviously are in denial. You are in extreme denial. You don't want to face the fact, and you believe that if you keep on talking the same way all the time, you're going to have these gullible individuals believe what you're saying. I can give you a list, right now, off the top, of members that pretty much spew the same type of agitprop over and over again. And if you ask them to provide you a source of information to that, they have none. They absolutely have none. And a lot of what they say is all about fallacy, and they choose not to validate it. There's no flexibility in what they're saying, except they're able to go out here and rev up the search engines and press the pedal to the floor and basically source drop from here to eternity. And when you ask them to basically find an alternate source drop in the media, they're incapable of doing that. You would get the infamous, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? That's it. That's it. So you heard it here, people. I thank you all for tuning in. Once again, salute to you all for the support. Be sure to pass the word. This is World Combat Sports. Be sure to comment. Be sure to follow me on all social media outlets and smash that like button. And subscribe to my YouTube channel. Much appreciated. And y'all keep on learning about the sport. Be students of the game. Show up to class on time. All right. When you ask the questions, raise your hand high and let it be known that you're trying to be a scholar.